Hello, Night Nation. I'm Trylko from the Sons of UCF, joined by Eric Lopez of the Black and Gold Banner. Welcome to Around the Kingdom. Elo, hello.
Hello, Trace. Coming up on the fastest UCF show around. UCF basketball with a tough loss to BYU as the season on the brink. Hey, softball season starts this week. We'll get a little chat on that. And, you've been waiting for it. The UCF football Big 12 schedule's out. Trace is already making travel plans. We'll break it all down right here on Around the Kingdom.
Before we get going with all of that, Elo, let's welcome in the third member of our team. He is Adam Eaton from the Sons of UCF. Keeps an eye on the clock, keeps us on our toes. Adam, hello.
Gentlemen, good evening. I cannot wait for this episode because I do not know what to make of North Carolina A&T, and I trust both of you will give me more insight than I need to know about that team.
At least 1 minute's worth. Elo, the Big 12 releases the 2025 football schedule today. We've known UCF's opponents since late 2023. Now we know when UCF plays. 4 league home games, 5 on the road. Let's get to it, Elo. 1 minute an opponent for quick reaction. We begin with the only game not on a Saturday. UCF welcomes in Jacksonville State. Sans Rich Rodriguez, Thursday, August 28th.
Well, no, yes. The tradition, unlike any other, Thursday night against of opponent.
It is tradition in UCF land, right?
Hey, you get used to it. I mean, people need to stop complaining about it because we should be used to it by now. Like, it's not like a shocking development. Jacksonville State had a good year last year. I know some people scoffed at me because I said they claim I said on Around the Kingdom that was an automatic win. I never said it was an automatic win. Jacksonville State has been a very good program, but they did lose Rich Rodriguez to West Virginia. We'll play Coach Rodriguez later. They did lose some personnel. I don't think it'll be an easy game. I'm not booking as a lock, but I do think UCF wins this game, Trace. But, they better. Put it that way.
That's the point, Elo. They better win, or it's not going to be good around Night Nation.
Of course, UCF will have a long break to get ready for the showdown with North Carolina A&T. Trace, what do you know about A&T?
I don't know anything about North Carolina A&T, and if the win did not occur before against Jacksonville State, it comes this week, Elo. This is an opportunity for the Knights to start 2-0 before a week 3 bye, Elo. I don't like that. Too early.
There's 2 byes this season for the record, but yes, the week 3 bye is like a waste of time, especially with this slate. Their A&T is terrible. It's an FCS opponent. I am amazed that people buy tickets to go to watch these type of games, not just here, but across the country. It really makes me wonder about society in general. But, Selby, you're one of these people, though. You love this type of games. You want more of these.
You need tune-up games like this. I don't understand who you want them to schedule.
How did that work out last year for those tune-ups?
Well, that had nothing to do with the opponents scheduled early on in the season. There were other problems in the season. Who do you want them to schedule then?
You can't play a lower FBS team.
They're playing Jacksonville State.
Yeah, so go find another one. Play FIU.
All right, switching gears to the other North Carolina, the Tar Heels. Game 3, September 20th. Bill Belichick comes to town.
It's so bizarre. Are we trying to win the state of North Carolina championship, by the way? If we win,
the odds that this game happens after one hurricane canceled game and a COVID canceled game. I don't know. Do they ever play?
You're predicting a big storm. Get
ready. Your hurricane prep now.
Eric Burris is listening right now. He's queuing this up. That's going to be so unique at a lot of levels. I think this is a swing game. I think this is a big, big game for UCF. Because we'll get to this as we go through the schedule. You want to get off to a good start. You're at home. Bill Belichick's in year 1. What is he going to bring to the table? But, boy, this is a fascinating game to see how Scott Frost and his staff handles a Bill Belichick staff. If you believe the talent rosters will be similar, maybe Carolina's a little better. Can you out-scheme Bill Belichick in college? And then is Bill Belichick going to wear a hoodie in Orlando, Florida? Which probably like 75, 80-degree weather. This should get a good TV slot, though. I mean, I don't know if you saw Belichick's first game against TCU has been moved to Monday night at ESPN. We're going to get a good TV slot here.
Knights with 3 home games off the top with the bye week sandwiched in. Got to go at least 2-1 if they lose that North Carolina game, Elo.
Well, yeah, no doubt. And then we get to Big 12 playing. Is it full circle? Groundhog Day? We just had Groundhog Day a couple days ago. UCF will begin Big 12 play in Manhattan, Kansas against Kansas State. Didn't we already do this?
Yeah. Recycling opponents. Tough game, Elo. That is an incredible atmosphere in Manhattan, Kansas. It was one of my favorite destinations to travel to.
You
in the Big
too?
12.
Wow.
Yeah. Quarterback Avery Johnson due back for the Wildcats. Tough game. I'm not calling it my lock loss, but I don't see how they get out of there with a win.
Yeah, that's a tough one. I mean, this is the one that first ever Big 12 game was in Manhattan, Kansas against Kansas State for UCF. Avery Johnson, you mentioned there. Kansas State will probably be one of the favorites, top half in the Big 12 in the preseason when that poll comes out. But as we're going to talk about here, remember this year UCF has a lot of road games in the Big 12. Good luck finding an easy one. So this is not a good start at all. I couldn't believe it. It's a little not original, as I mentioned 2 years ago, but you're right. Not a good start, which is what you got to really take advantage of those first 3 games at home.
That's right. 1 week after the Kansas State game, UCF welcomes in Kansas, return of quarterback Jalen Daniels. That is a tough one, but the Knights, if they're going to face some struggles on the road, Elo, have to protect home field.
Lance Leipold will be in town there. The Jayhawks finished strong last season, knocking teams off, but they were off to a slow start, so maybe it's a good thing that you get Kansas early on and take advantage maybe while they figure some things out. Not an easy home game. I'm very interested to see, Trace, what do you think we draw for Kansas? What do you think the attendance will be? Will there still be a big crowd because of the frost and honeymoon, or is there like a drop-off because, it's Kansas, but it's not basketball?
Are they coming off 2 straight losses to North Carolina and on the road to Kansas State?
Right. No, that's a great point. I think that makes a big swing to that. Kansas ran all over UCF 2 years ago in Lawrence, Kansas. You might want to be ready on the run defense against Kansas to me. And Daniels didn't play in that game against UCF. He was out with a back injury. That's why he's still playing this upcoming season for Kansas.
Got to protect home field. That's what I say.
Should we bring out like Johnny Dawkins or Jalen Sellers for the opening kickoff just to kind of bring up good vibes? I don't know. We'll see how that goes on that one. All right. Of course, following that one, UCF will then go to Cincinnati, scheduled for now for Saturday, October 11th. I'll explain for now, but hey, another trip for you to Nippert there, Trace.
I think this is on this schedule as we go through it, Elo, UCF's best chance at a road win in conference play. So, Cincinnati, I don't think they've impressed in their transition to the Big 12, though they did get the better of UCF in Orlando in 2024. This is the one I think UCF can win on the. Of course, we don't know what the rosters are going to look like for UCF or even Cincinnati. Hey, but it's some fun in early February.
It is. I would not be. I'm going to give you a bold prediction here. Not a little bit of one to look forward to. Don't be surprised if this game gets moved to like a Friday night for television purposes down the road later in the summer. What do you think?
I think
like that.
UCF may be a better draw earlier in the season if they get worn down over the course of the season. Elo, a week after that, the Knights return home, welcome in West Virginia for homecoming. Hey, Rich Rodriguez, who they didn't have to face at Jacksonville State where he was previously, he returns to West Virginia. Country roads, Knights got rolled over by West Virginia there, in Morgantown, and previously in Orlando.
2 programs that believe in nostalgia when it comes to their head coaches, bringing back successful head coaches from the past. Rich Rodriguez back at West Virginia. Oh, is TV going to have a lot of love, fun with that? Old retro photos. And to your point, got to win home games in this slate because I'm telling you, the road slate ain't fun. You got to win some home games against West Virginia. It's going to be in the same boat that UCF is in, Trace, from a rebuild standpoint.
And, Elo, this one comes out of Cincinnati and then into a bye week before they head to Baylor. So I think it's important if you're going to flirt with 6 wins and a bowl, right? The road's going to be a struggle. You got to win a home game like this against West Virginia, but we don't know what West Virginia is going to look like in the transition under Rodriguez.
Well, then they're going to be going up against Baylor on November the 1st. That's after a bye week, a second bye week. UCF going to Waco, Texas for the first time in football here, Trace.
I'm looking forward to that one as a road game. I think because of, as we'll talk on the schedule, the timing of that BYU game, I think this is one fans may go to. Not the easiest destination to get into. You're likely to fly into Dallas and a little bit of a drive, that Orlando to Tampa type of drive to get over to Waco. But I'm looking forward to that. They have a really nice stadium, newer stadium. and I'm looking forward to checking out Baylor. This is the other one I think is a chance to steal a road game, but Baylor got hot in the second half of the season last year.
That's the thing. Which Dave Aranda team are you getting? The one that struggled in the first half that got him on the hot seat, or the second half that saved him? And let's not bring it up, but 2 years ago, UCF dominated Baylor for about 2.5 quarters or so. Baylor came back and beat them. So a lot of it, that's a tricky game to kind of figure out. So is this game the most exciting road trip for you? Because you've never been to Waco, I would assume.
I've never been. I've been to Cincinnati. I've been to Kansas State. I think the best atmosphere that I've been to is Kansas State. So I am looking forward to a return there. Yeah, I'd say I'm most excited about Baylor off the top. Knights then, Elo, on this road home, back and forth, return home for the race for space, the battle between Houston and UCF in the space game. A winnable game for UCF, but Willie Fritz started to turn things around in the second half of the season for Houston.
Yeah, but come on. This is going to be the space jersey game. And you know what that means?
Everybody's going to be jazzed up for space. As UCF Mike likes to say, just play like that every week. Just wear those uniforms every week then.
Well, they might do it this week, that week against Houston. Look, that's a must win. You have to win that game. I think they will win that game. That might be their best, easiest game, to be honest with you, in the conference schedule. I mean, I know what you mean about Willie Fritz improving things, but
lowest scoring team, I believe, in the Big 12 last year, like about 14 points a game in Big 12 play.
I agree. So I like UCF in that one. I think, to me, you kind of wish, you like the fact too that it's at near the end of the year in November to take advantage of, maybe get some wins. Might be the easiest win you get in November.
Yeah, definitely. So space, that battle. Let's see if we can ignite.
Aren't you all happy? Isn't this what you want at UCF in Houston and just fake space rivalry nonsense? Yeah, natural rivalry. Hey, you know what's a big rivalry? UCF going against Trace's alma mater. Texas
Here we go.
Tech. Love it.
I'm going to get stopped by people asking me, is that true again? Yeah.
One of the great moments of this history of this show. In Lubbock, Trace, you called it 2 years ago a lock that they would lose in Lubbock. Are you calling it a lock this year? They're losing in Lubbock.
I'm not sure it's my biggest lock of a loss, but I don't see them coming out of Lubbock. Lubbock is rated UCF with Lee Hunter. They have stacked up on all kinds of guys.
The Lee Hunter game.
NIL.
Oh, no.
Yeah, the Lee Hunter game. And that's not easy to get to. You got to do multiple flights. Not fans, UCF doesn't. I don't see UCF coming out of Lubbock with a win.
If you had a chance to interview Lee Hunter while you're in Lubbock, what would you ask him?
Oh, I don't know. I don't know. Let's see how the
game
goes.
If you run into him, you're gonna give him a stare.
I am going to try and run into him. No, we've reached peace. We did so at Big 12 Media Days.
I think he could buy you dinner now, from what I hear. Look, that's a tricky game because Texas Tech spending a lot of money in the NIL, as we joking here. How good will they be? They want to contend to be in the top half of the Big 12. We'll see where they're at that point. For Trace's homecoming to Lubbock, baby. Can't wait. Hey, UCF comes back home.
Yeah, that's right. Senior night, Elo. Oklahoma State, the Knights beat in that space game 2 seasons ago. Oklahoma State, they went winless in the Big 12. There were some questions about Gundy's return. Are they really that bad, Elo? Chance at a win, though, at home.
You got to win if you're UCF. It's senior in the weekend. Mike Gundy, you wonder if he's just kind of trying to hold on. He's on the ropes there. I mean, he took a pay cut to stay on as the head coach. I don't think Oklahoma State right now is headed in the right direction. So I like UCF from that standpoint. Again, a soft landing there at the back end of the schedule.
Was it senior night that UCF had already played 4 quarterbacks a season ago and went out on a whimper against Utah? Which quarterback will UCF be on in this Oklahoma State game?
Let's hope not many. Maybe 1 or 2. 2 maybe at the most.
2. Senior night, though, a chance to say goodbye to guys that we just got to know.
Well, I hope you don't believe in sleeping much. And happy Thanksgiving. Nothing says Thanksgiving like Provo, Utah, ladies and gentlemen. For the first time since 2010, UCF will play a football game on Thanksgiving weekend outside of the state of Florida. Trace, how excited are you to be spending Thanksgiving weekend in Provo, Utah?
Well, I don't know about that, but this is the one, Elo. It's too early for me to put in a guaranteed lock loss, but it feels like on the road at BYU, especially if it's a night game. That's a long trek for UCF. BYU, pretty strong. Jake Ratzliff, the quarterback, returning for the Cougars. They had a great year a season ago. A well-coached, disciplined team. That's a tough one.
I am projecting a 10:30 kickoff time, Eastern. All right?
PM.
Yeah, you're going to be there late night. High of 44, a low of 29. Are you prepared to handle that?
You're already, what are you, Eric Burris? You're already out with the game day.
This is going to be a long night in a lot of levels. There is no way they're winning in Provo, Utah. This is going to be a long night.
You're calling a lock.
Yeah, it's done. Just put it in. We start the year 0-1. Let's go.
All right, 1 minute a game. We'll delve into it a little bit more on overtime when we welcome in Adam Eaton. For that, we welcome him in now for our silly game. Adam.
Thanks, gentlemen. Don't forget, we're brought to you by our good friends at Alumni Hall. If you go to Alumni Hall right now, 4100 North Alafaya Trail, they have a clearance sale in-store only. So if you're going to be maybe for the basketball game, maybe you're going to be in town this weekend, hit up Alumni Hall, 4100 Alafaya Trail. You can get some clearance gear specifically for UCF. All right, gents, I have trivia. I have scheduled trivia for you. I've gone through.
We're no good at trivia.
I know. That's why I think you might know this one. I think you guys might know this one. So I'll shout it out if you know them. I'll say the question. Eric, Trace, whoever knows it first, go ahead. There are two teams in the Big 12 on this schedule that UCF has never beaten and played more than one time. Can you name the two teams UCF's never beaten but played more than once?
Kansas State.
That is correct.
West Virginia.
That is correct. 0-2 against Kansas State and 0-4 against West Virginia. There are two teams on the schedule right now where the winner will take the series lead, meaning the series lead is tied between UCF and these two schools. What are those two schools?
Baylor.
Baylor is correct.
Cincinnati.
Cincinnati is correct. Look at you two, huh? You guys should go on the Family Feud together. All right, here we go. Who was the quarterback the last time Houston beat UCF? Who was UCF's quarterback the last time Houston beat UCF?
Ward. His last name was Ward.
No, who was UCF's quarterback?
UCF. The last time Houston won?
I don't know what year it was.
Was it Holman?
It was not. Incorrect.
McKenzie? Was it McKenzie?
Mackenzie Milton is correct. 2016, okay. Houston beats UCF. 2016. Who was UCF's quarterback the last time UCF beat BYU? UCF
Justin Holman.
That is correct. Eric Lopez is on fire.
Overtime game. Yeah, that was a great game. I was there.
All right, UCF has famously had two games against North Carolina canceled in previous. Can you tell me the years of those cancellations, gentlemen?
2018.
That is correct.
2020.
That is also correct for COVID. Very good. We are playing Kansas this year. What do Lance Leipold and Scott Frost have in common?
They were Danny
White. By Danny White.
That is correct.
I got it first.
That is correct. And last one, Scott Frost is 2-0 against Cincinnati in his lifetime. If he wins this time, obviously he'll be 3-0, but he'll have beaten three different coaches. Can you name the three Cincinnati coaches that Scott Frost will have beaten?
Tommy Tuberville, and
Scott Satterfield would be the correct answer. Very look at you two. I knew you guys should work together. You guys should host a show.
Thank you, Adam. All right, Elo, switching gears from football to basketball. BYU might be UCF's Tulsa. They cannot seem to beat the Cougars. They drop an important home game, 81-75. That was a game they really needed to take to even out at 5-5, but they're 4-6 through the first 10 now.
BYU's a bad matchup. It was the same story that we saw last year. BYU was just drilling threes. I think they ended up with 14 3-pointers made.
They're one of the best teams in the country at firing from three.
And they put a lot of pressure on a defense. It makes you stretch out defensively, and then if you over pursued on the 3-point line, they find ways to cut you inside. Listen, UCF had a much better defense last year, better athletes on defense, and they had tough time against BYU last year. So disappointing. You had foul trouble issues, some quite interesting whistles early in the first half, but it's a bad matchup. I just think that's a bad matchup, and credit to BYU. They were the better team.
UCF fans are crying foul about the refs and decisions, especially late in games. You can't put yourself in a position where a decision or a lack of a decision by a ref plays a factor in the game, and they're finding themselves at. The other thing, UCF, do you think they've earned the benefit of the doubt with referees? I mean, they certainly don't seem to get the calls at home any more than they get them on the road.
Listen, I had some friends of mine who were in the Big 12 after the Kansas game. They were like, giving the LOL emojis like, hey, Welcome to the Big 12. You guys they went easy on you tonight. You should be happy. Yeah, no, to your point. This is part of the groom there. We're not a brand in basketball. Some fans need to learn that. I've been saying that for years. It's tough. The thing that's frustrating, Trace, lost at home to Kansas badly. Lost one to Houston you could have had right there. Now you lose a third home game. You can make the argument they've actually been better on the road. Think about it. The win at Texas Tech, win at Arizona State, played well against Arizona, played well at Kansas. The only clunker they've had on the road was the Iowa State game. They got to protect the home court, which makes this Wednesday night game against Cincinnati a must-win, Trace. Must-win. Because if they don't win, you got at Baylor following that, and then Iowa State comes to town. So this could get away from you if you don't win the Cincinnati game.
Exactly.
But the season's not lost, folks. Contrary to some of the amateur bracketologists on social media, they're like, that's it. They can't make it. Actually, Joe Lenardi, as of late Tuesday, still has UCF as the last team in the field there, believe it or not. So not all lost, Trace, but the margin of error is kind of narrow a little bit, in my opinion. What's your, to me, from a bracketology standpoint here?
Well, we've been talking about this, that you don't want to dig yourself a hole, right? And there was an opportunity to move to 5-5. They're now 4-6. You drop the game against Cincinnati. You got to go on the road. You don't like that situation, Elo. Then you're starting to cause yourself a problem. So thus the importance of the Cincinnati game. It does show you the power of the Big 12, that UCF can be in and out on that bubble throughout the season. It is exciting. I mean, you'd like to be obviously clearly in, but it is exciting to see UCF amongst the Big 12 schools that are, on either side of that, as was BYU going into the game against the Knights.
I want to criticize people like, you obviously, and others that have always complained about human committees and let's let the computers decide it. The net is a joke. You look at UCF, they're behind teams like North Carolina, Cincinnati, teams that clearly UCF has a better resume, and yet the net rankings does not like UCF. They're in the low 60s. That's what the committee uses in college basketball. I think that's a joke, and that does concern me is if it's close, does UCF lose out because of the brand versus teams like North Carolina's and the Texas of the world? Do they lose because of a metric that's flawed? That's why I think UCF has to, in my opinion, there's 3 marquee Quad 1 game opportunities. At Baylor, Iowa State at home, at West Virginia. You got to win one of those, I think, to feel pretty good and avoid losses that you cannot afford, like losing at home to Oklahoma State. But it's got to start with Cincinnati. That's been the other team in the bugaboo. You got to beat Cincinnati. You beat Cincinnati, you're treading water, you're fine. You lose that game, now you're falling a little bit further back. Get rid of the computers, Trace.
Well, yeah, but we could get into this debate another time about what do you want people and the cartel to pick the games? I brought the cartel back in. I got rid of it for football. Elo's back for basketball. Let's go around the Big 12, Elo. Texas Tech is surprising, but they're looking up at Houston and Arizona, 2 teams that UCF has lost. But, hey, they did get the win at Texas Tech.
By the way, you look at Saturday, they're calling it one of the most exciting days in the history of Big 12 basketball with the Houston-Texas Tech game and all the drama there with Texas Tech winning. Baylor coming back from 21 down to knock off Kansas at home. Kansas State upsetting Iowa State. Iowa State's limping a little bit. They got smoked by Kansas on Big Monday. Big 12, man, topsy-turvy. It's just a wild roller coaster when it comes to the Big 12 basketball. Are you hooked, Trace? Do you find yourself watching more Big 12 basketball because of these associated with UCF and find yourself hooked to these games like Texas Tech Baylor was a big game Tuesday night I found myself watching?
I would say this too, Elo. I find myself watching more Big 12 basketball because the quality is better than I was watching of the American.
Yes.
That didn't involve UCF games. There'd be an occasional American game, a Memphis Houston when those were 2 of the schools in the American that I might watch. But yes, certainly more interested now because I'm seeing those teams up close and personal with UCF. I have more interest in them.
I 100% agree. And it's exciting league. Every game's a battle every night. You just never know. You never know what happens there. All right. We got props, folks. A lot of props.
Are you going basketball this week?
No,
or are you
no
switch,
more.
You're bringing in softball. You're going to have some softball prop this week?
Yes. Really simple one to follow, Trace. Really simple one. Who's going to have the most base hits from UCF softball this weekend? 6 games. Pick a player. Who's going to lead the Knights with the most hits this weekend.
Can't you go first? I need to think about the roster.
Sure, I'll go
Get
first.
to know this team.
I'll take CeCe Humphreys. Thank you.
Ooh. All right. What is it? It's for the most over
base
the
hits. Just most over the tournament. The entire
over
tournament.
the tournament.
Yes, sir.
Aubrey
Evans. Okay. We'll get maybe
Evans.
Adam, feel free to pick a player when we get to you at the end of the show. But we'll
I like that.
I'm sure
like
Adam
that,
right now
Leo.
is just quickly looking at the roster.
Be one of those things like Adam says. Tell me who's really good on softball this season.
Maybe he'll hopefully have better luck than he did in the game within the game.
Yeah. Game within the game, Elo, all tied up in second. You're trailing me with 27 points to lead this. You, Andrew Trylko, Adam Eaton, all at 24 points. This one is a tight one. Andrew really likes Keyshawn Hall, who was not doing much in that BYU game and some early foul trouble, but then roared in to get him the top spot.
That's correct. It's very tight. And then you have taken over in the seasonal picks because you're the only team of the three of us that have multiple players scoring points right now.
You had Benny with a 0 and Mikey with a 0. Mikey not playing in that game against BYU, but you got 20 from Hall, but it's not enough, Elo.
It's kind of hard. And by the way, that's kind of a problem the UCF right now has is do they have enough depth all of a sudden? They can't get any production off the bench. We don't even want to get into Adam's roster. That's a lost cause.
No, Adam had 14 from Ivy Curry, 0 from Sellers, and 0 from
Maybe
Taylor.
I don't want Adam picking softball. No, don't jinx
play.
it. We don't. I don't know.
Let's talk softball, Elo. We're going to delve into it more on a special overtime, but Media Day Sunday, head coach Cindy Ball-Malone and players at the Nicholson Fieldhouse. What's your big takeaway from Media Day?
Well, I think it's a group that's young but eager to play and excited. I think you heard Coach Ball-Malone. I mean, he likes this talent, knows that it's a young roster, knows there's going to be some patience there, but I think there's a lot of intrigue as to see how this looks now to play somebody else. Listen, college softball as a whole this year is very young. Only 23 out of 57 All-Americans return in the sport. Last year, out of the top 50 active home run leaders, only 6 returned from last year. So it's a young sport. This year, UCF is well included. And I think the big question is, who becomes the face of UCF softball, Trace, after Cody and Doherty? Really, you're more a better qualified answers. Transcended the program and were the faces of the program over the last handful of years.
Yeah, I think that's interesting. 12 and 15 a year ago, Texas, Oklahoma leave for the SEC. UCF still, though, schedules Oklahoma for a couple of games to keep their tough scheduling. But I like what Coach Ball-Malone said on Sunday that, all those players last year, all those great names were doing the best that they could, but maybe they lost a little team as everybody was trying to do something to help them get over the hump. And, they've stacked up back-to-back great freshman classes. And now let's see what dividends they play for the Knights. More on overtime as we talk a little bit softball. Time to bring back in Adam. Adam, what did we get right? What did we get wrong? And who's your prop in softball?
I'm ready for you guys. First off, though, North Carolina A&T went 1-11 last year. Only one win against Winston-Salem. You mentioned Groundhog Day. Punxsutawney Phil saw a shadow of 6 more weeks of winter. Kansas in 2023, they ran all over us. The good news is Devin Neal has graduated. The bad news is Daniel Highshaw, who had 134 yards, has not graduated. West Virginia, sneaky good road crowd. If you remember, they took over the bounce house when they were previously. McLean Stadium for Baylor, Trace, the only place you can go sailgating on the Brazos River. Good luck with all that. Houston did indeed average 14 points a game in the Big 12. BYU is shooting 37% from 3 on the season. And give me Stormy Kotzelnick as my softball player to have hit thingy.
This is fun. I like this.
And Adam, I wonder if he picked Stormy because of her name. Ela, what do you think? He gravitated there. One more thing before we go. It's FanFest for UCF baseball Saturday, the 8th from 2 to 4 at John Giuliano Park. Meet the team. Kids can run the bases. The Knights open on Valentine's Day, Friday, February 14th. Weekend series against Siena. Look for new episodes midweek every week on the Sons of UCF YouTube channel and on the Sons podcast feed, where you also find Around the Kingdom Overtime, which we record right after this one. For Eric Lopez and Adam Eaton, I'm Trylko. Thanks, everyone, for joining us for this week's Around the Kingdom.